to your remote learning experience. Today is going to be a lesson for Friday, March 27th, okay? So I'm sure you guys have heard by now that our remote learning is going to be extended through May. So I think this was kind of an expected situation, but I am going to be here for you guys. If you need to reach out to me through email, I'm absolutely willing to do that. If we need to Zoom in with each other and do like more of a video conferencing thing, I can also do that for you as well, okay? But always feel free to email me with any questions so that we can kind of get on the same page here, okay? So I kind of just wanted to recap some of the things that we've been learning in the past couple of days. I've let you be fairly independent the past few days, but I would like to kind of talk about some of these concepts that we've been learning about, okay? So first of all, we were wrapping up mitosis, okay, which is a process that produces new cells through cell division, okay? So one of your cells will divide to create a new cell, okay? And most of the cells in your body are capable of this. So for example, if you were to have a cut on your hand, your cells would be able to divide so that they could ultimately heal that cut on the hand, okay? So I gave you a video to watch from the Amoeba Sisters about cells and actually how they regulate themselves, okay? Because cells, like we've talked about, have a life cycle. So just like we were babies once and now we're adults, or for some of you, adolescents, it's the same thing for cells. They kind of have that life cycle that they go through, and in that life cycle, they are able to divide, okay? So one thing that I did want to talk about with mitosis that we didn't cover a ton is how the DNA is organized in mitosis, okay? But first, I wanted to talk about this a little bit, okay? So I'm sure you guys have heard of DNA before. DNA is a molecule that looks just like this. It's kind of like a twisted ladder with a bunch of rungs in between it. It contains all of your genetic information, okay? So it determines all of your traits, like your hair color or your eye color or your skin color, things like that. And it also helps kind of control your cells and tell them what to do, okay? So your DNA might say, hey, stomach cell, we need you to start digesting this piece of food. Or, hey, skin cell, we need you over here so that you can help repair a cut on this person's hand, okay? So DNA kind of serves as instructions, okay? It's kind of like a manual. So the cells need instructions so that they know what to do on a daily basis. And that's what DNA does, is it provides instructions, okay? But during cell division, DNA isn't exactly organized like this, okay? Before your cells even get to divide, they have to make a copy of that DNA, okay? So that's why I put a ×2 sign right here. Because during one part of the cell cycle called interphase, which we've learned about, your cell replicates its DNA, okay? Because all of your cells need those instructions from the DNA, so they make copies of the DNA so they can pass it on to a new cell that's being created, okay? But before cell division even begins, you have your DNA, okay? And your DNA is actually organized into a structure that looks like this, okay? And this structure is known as a chromosome. This structure is also known as a chromatid, okay? So these are two names that mean the same thing for this structure right here, just this structure, okay? So it's kind of like if you have a friend and you have a nickname for them. So say their name is Steve, but you call them Paul for whatever reason, I don't know. So after the DNA replicates itself, all right, oh, sorry, one thing I forgot to mention is that when your DNA gets organized like this to prepare to divide, you have 46 of these. 46 chromosomes, 46 of these things in your cells, okay? So I only drew one, But imagine that there's all of these structures all over this little circle right here, okay? But after your cell replicates its DNA, so I'm going to put after replication, it looks like this, the DNA. Okay, so essentially what I've done is I've just made a copy of this one right here, and I produced that one right there, okay? This structure is also called a chromosome. Okay, so these are both considered chromosomes, but this can be called a chromatid, okay? But this structure has two chromatids, okay? Because it has one chromatid right here and one chromatid right here, and those two chromatids form a chromosome, okay? So it has one chromosome, two chromatids, T-I-D-S, like that. Okay, so even though you have one chromosome right here and one chromosome right here, even though it looks like there's more DNA here, you still have 46 chromosomes, okay? So that can be a little bit tricky sometimes, but that's what the cells are kind of gonna look like, or that's the more logistics of the DNA before the cell divides. Okay, so like we've talked about before, and we made this in our models too, once those cells have the replicated copies of their chromosomes, remember there's going to be 46 of these, not just one like I've drawn here. Eventually, these are pulled apart. So one goes this way, one goes this way. Okay, so they are kind of split right down the middle, and sadly they are pulled aside because they are going to join their new cell, just like that. Okay, so this chromosome is going to go into this cell, this chromosome is going to go into this cell. So even though I have one chromosome here, each of the new cells are going to have 46 chromosomes, okay? So this cell started with 46 chromosomes, all right, and after it divides, okay, so it's eventually those chromosomes are going to separate, and it's going to divide to form another cell. Come on, pen. With 46 chromosomes, okay? Right? So that they have equal copies of DNA and they are going to be identical to one another, okay? So if I originally had a skin cell right here, after mitosis, I'm still gonna have another skin cell, which is very convenient because when you have a skin cell and you need more skin cells, you don't want it to produce a liver cell or a blood cell because you want a specific cell that has a specific function, okay? So that is kind of the gist of mitosis and what happens to the DNA, okay?